Here we have a histogram, and a histogram is where you have classes that actually are butted up next to each other. So some of those frequency distributions that we did earlier in 8.2, they would lend themselves very well to a histogram. And it shows this would be a frequency histogram because on the left-hand side, it's giving you the number of students. And on the across the bottom is giving you classes for each test score range. And you can see it goes from 1 to 10, and they're all, it looks like 9 apart, except for the very first category. And then that last category, you can't really get higher than 100% on most tests, so that's not showing. But it shows you kind of the distribution of student scores on, it looks like, on a chemistry test. So we're saying the height of the bar tells you the frequency, and you can track it across. If I was trying to find out how many students got between an 81 and a 90, I would track this across if I could draw a straight line. And I would say that's about 27 students got between an 81 and a 90. And if I wanted to know how many students failed the exam, I could say, well, that's probably 60 or lower. So I'm going to look at everybody to the left of that big blue mark I made. And so I see 5 here. This one's 5. And this one is probably 8. And this one is probably 2. So that would be 15 students. It looks like they failed the exam. And I could do it as 15 out of however many students were in the classes, and I could find that by adding up these other frequencies to figure out how many students were tested on this chemistry test. So something to note is that because the bars represent classes and the class limits are consecutive numbers, the bars in a histogram are pushed together and will touch. Look back up here at our bar graph. These categories don't touch because it's not like sequential numbers between accounting and art. They're just completely different classes, and so the bars should not be touching. Down here, we're talking about test scores, and they do butt up next to each other. A 60 is followed by a 61 by a 62, and so the bars are touching for a histogram.